You end every day the same way. Face in a screen. Mind racing. Tomorrow's anxieties already arriving before today has even finished leaving. You scroll, you drift, you black out of consciousness somewhere between a video you don't care about and a thought you didn't choose to think. And then you wake up tired. Not because you didn't sleep enough, but because you never actually closed the day. You never put it down. You carried it straight into the night like a bag you forgot you were holding, and now you wonder why your shoulders ache, why your mind feels cluttered before the morning has even started. Here's the costly mistake most people make. They think the day ends when they fall asleep. It doesn't. The day ends when you've looked at it honestly and let it go. Without that, there is no ending. There's only a slow bleed of unfinished business seeping into the next morning, and the next, and the next. Most people call this going to bed. The Stoics would call it surrender. You're surrendering the one moment where you could actually become someone better than you were 12 hours ago. Here is the thesis, and I want you to hold on to it. The 10 minutes you spend reviewing your day honestly are the 10 minutes that determine whether you are living your life or just surviving it. Not the morning. Not the workout. Not the journaling at sunrise that you tell yourself makes you disciplined. The evening. The quiet, unglamorous, nobody will see you evening. That's where character is forged. That's where the Stoics did their real work. Not in the forum, not in battle, not in the moments everyone was watching. At night. Alone. Sitting with themselves. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a man who ruled the known world. Marcus Aurelius. Emperor of Rome. By day he dealt with plague, war, betrayal, political assassination, the weight of an empire on his shoulders. He could have done what most powerful men do. Drink. Distract. Lose himself in pleasure or paranoia. Instead, every night, he retreated. Not to a palace of comfort. To a notebook. He sat down and he wrote to himself. Not for publication. Not for legacy. He wrote to survive. He wrote to keep himself from becoming the thing he despised. He wrote reminders to himself about who he wanted to be and how far he had drifted from that person in the span of a single day. That book, the one we now call Meditations, wasn't a philosophy text. It was a nightly practice. It was the output of a man who understood that without evening reflection, the world will mold you into its shape and you won't even notice until it's too late. Emperor by day. Philosopher by night. And the philosopher was the one who kept the emperor sane. Now think about your own evenings. When was the last time you sat with yourself at the end of a day and asked, honestly, without flinching, what did I do today that I'm proud of? What did I do today that I'm not? Not in a vague, passing thought while brushing your teeth kind of way. Actually sat down. Actually looked. Most people never do this. And here's what nobody tells you. Not doing it isn't neutral. Not doing it is actively costing you. Every day you don't review is a day you're flying blind in your own life. You're accumulating patterns you can't see. You're repeating mistakes you don't know you're making. You're letting reactions harden into habits without ever checking whether those habits serve you or destroy you. The unexamined day doesn't just disappear. It compounds. And what compounds over months, over years, over a lifetime, is a version of you that you didn't choose. That's what's at stake. You still don't feel whole. You still don't feel like you. And the reason isn't that you need more information. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another framework. You need to start looking at yourself with honest eyes for 10 minutes a night. Seneca understood this. He practiced it with a discipline that most people would find uncomfortable. Every evening, before sleep, he would hold his own trial. That's the language he used. A trial. He was the judge. He was also the accused. He would walk through the events of his day and ask himself hard questions. Was I angry today? Did I speak more than I needed to? Did I let something outside my control disturb my peace? Did I chase pleasure I didn't need? Did I waste time? And he didn't do this to punish himself. That's the part most people get wrong. They hear self-examination and they imagine self-flagellation. Beating yourself up. Listing your failures. Feeling worse. That's not what this is. That's just another form of ego. You're making it about your guilt instead of about your growth. The Stoic nightly review is not a punishment. It's a recalibration. You're not there to convict yourself. You're there to learn. To notice. To adjust. Think of it like a ship's navigator checking the stars at the end of each day. If the ship has drifted off course, the navigator doesn't scream at the compass. They simply note the drift, correct the heading, and move forward. That's what the nightly review is. A course correction. Small. Quiet. Daily. And over time, devastatingly effective. So here's how you actually do it. Not in theory. In practice. Tonight. And every night after. First, you need a structure. Not a vague intention to think about your day. A structure. Because structure is what separates reflection from rumination. Rumination is what you do now. Lying in bed, replaying that awkward conversation, spiraling into that thing your coworker said, feeling the low-grade anxiety of tomorrow's to-do list. That's not reflection. That's a hamster wheel. Reflection has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Rumination just spins. So here's the structure. 3 movements. Keep it to 10 minutes. Not 15. Not an hour. 10 minutes. Because the point isn't to write a memoir. The point is to build a habit you can actually sustain. If you make it too long, you won't do it. If you make it too short, you won't go deep enough. 10 minutes. That's the sweet spot. The first movement is simple. What did I do well today? And I don't mean what did I achieve. I don't mean what did I check off a list. I mean where did I act like the person I want to be? Where did I show patience when I wanted to snap? Where did I hold my tongue when I wanted to wound? Where did I choose courage over comfort? Name it. Be specific. Not I was good today. That's useless. I listened to my friend without interrupting. I didn't react when my boss criticized me. I went for the walk even though I didn't want to. Specific. Concrete. Because specificity is what makes it real. Vague praise is just vanity. Specific recognition is a blueprint. You're telling yourself exactly what to do more of tomorrow. Most people skip this step. They go straight to what they did wrong. That's a mistake. You need to acknowledge what you did right because your brain needs to know that the effort was seen. Even if the only one seeing it is you. Especially because the only one seeing it is you. The second movement. What did I fail at today? And again, not what did I fail to accomplish. What did I fail to be? Where did I lose my temper? Where did I say yes when I meant no? Where did I let someone else's mood dictate mine? Where did I scroll for an hour instead of being present with the person next to me? Where did I let anxiety make my decisions for me? This is the hard part. This is where you have to be honest. And honesty at night, alone, in the quiet, is harder than people think. Because there's no audience. No one to perform for. No one to convince. It's just you and the truth. And the truth is usually uncomfortable. But here's what Seneca understood. The discomfort of honest self-examination is infinitely cheaper than the cost of never examining yourself at all. The discomfort lasts 10 minutes. The cost lasts a lifetime. So you sit with it. You name the failure. You don't explain it away. You don't blame the other person. You don't say I was tired. You don't say they started it. You just say I lost my temper. I was envious. I spoke when I should have listened. Short. Direct. No story. Because the story is where the ego hides. The third movement. What will I do differently tomorrow? This is the part that makes the whole practice forward-looking instead of punitive. You're not wallowing. You're not reliving. You're extracting a lesson and pointing it at the future. Tomorrow, when I feel the anger rising, I will pause for 3 breaths before I speak. Tomorrow, when I'm asked to do something I don't want to do, I will say no without justifying it. Tomorrow, I will put my phone in another room when I eat. Small. Specific. Actionable. Not I will be a better person. That's a bumper sticker. I will pause for 3 breaths before I speak. That's a practice. That's something you can actually do. And here's where it gets powerful. You do this tomorrow night. And the night after. And the night after that. And something begins to happen that you don't expect. You start catching yourself in the moment. Not after. During. You're in a conversation and you feel the urge to interrupt, and something in you pauses, because you know tonight you'll be reviewing this, and you don't want to write down I interrupted him again. You start building an internal witness. A part of you that watches you while you're living. That witness is the most valuable thing you will ever develop. It's the thing that separates people who grow from people who repeat the same year for 40 years and call it a life. The nightly review creates a feedback loop. You review. You adjust. You act differently the next day. You review again. You adjust again. And slowly, day by day, you become someone you recognize. Someone you respect. That's what the Stoics were after. Not happiness in the modern sense of feeling good. Not the pursuit of pleasure. They were after something deeper. They were after a self that holds together. A self that doesn't fragment under pressure. A self that doesn't collapse when the world gets loud. And the nightly review is how you build that self. One evening at a time. One honest look at a time. Let me tell you something about Marcus Aurelius that most people miss. He didn't write Meditations because he had it all figured out. He wrote it because he didn't. He wrote it because he was afraid of becoming cruel, of becoming cold, of becoming the kind of emperor Rome had suffered under before. He wrote it because he knew that power and comfort and distraction would slowly erode the person he wanted to be, and the only defense was a nightly practice of remembering who that person was. He was fighting for his own soul every night at a desk. And you are fighting for the same thing. Every night you skip the review, the world wins. The noise wins. The old patterns win. Every night you do it, you take something back. You reclaim a small piece of your own attention, your own will, your own direction. Let's talk about the mechanics for a moment. Because the way you do this matters. Keep it short. I said 10 minutes. I mean it. If you start writing essays, you'll quit. If you make it a heavy emotional excavation every night, you'll quit. This is a practice, not a performance. Light. Consistent. Sustainable. Some nights you'll have a lot to say. Some nights it'll be 3 lines. That's fine. The point is the ritual, not the volume. Keep it honest. No spin. No editing yourself to look better on the page. You're not writing for anyone. You're writing for the one person who already knows the truth. So tell the truth. The whole truth. Not the version that makes you look like the hero of your own day. Keep it forward-looking. The review is not a courtroom where you serve a sentence. It's a workshop where you sharpen the tool for tomorrow. Always end with what you'll do differently. Always. Even on a good day. Especially on a good day. Because good days are where complacency lives. Good days are where you stop paying attention. And the moment you stop paying attention, the drift begins. Now I want you to think about what happens when you don't do this. Think about the accumulation. Every day, small reactions. Small surrenders. Small moments. Where you gave your power away to an emotion, to another person, to a screen. And you never looked at any of them. They just stacked up. Day after day. Year after year. Until one day you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. Not because something dramatic happened. But because nothing was ever examined. Nothing was ever corrected. You drifted so slowly you didn't feel it. That's what the Stoics were warning against. Not catastrophe. Drift. The slow, invisible erosion of self that happens when you never sit down and ask, am I becoming who I want to be? The nightly review is your answer to drift. It's your anchor. It's the one thing you do that the world cannot touch, cannot corrupt, cannot participate in. It's yours. Completely yours. And in a life where almost everything is shared, performed, observed, that kind of private integrity is rare. It's power. Real power. The kind that doesn't need an audience. Here's something else nobody tells you. The nightly review will change your mornings. Not because of some magical energy transfer. But because when you actually close a day, when you've looked at it and let it go, you sleep differently. You're not carrying the residue. You're not lying in bed with 30 browser tabs open in your mind. You've shut them down. One by one. You've said to each one, I saw you. I learned from you. Now rest. And when you wake up to a day that isn't already contaminated by yesterday's unfinished business. You wake up clean. That's what most people are chasing with their elaborate morning routines. The cold plunge. The journaling. The meditation app. They're trying to feel clean at the start of the day. But you can't feel clean in the morning if you went to bed dirty. The evening comes first. It always comes first. Clean up your nights and your mornings will take care of themselves. Let me bring this back to Seneca for a moment. He didn't just review what went wrong. He also asked what he wasted. That's a different question. Not what did I do badly, but what did I let slip through my fingers? What did I spend on nothing? What hour did I give to a screen, to a worry, to a conversation I didn't even want to be having? Because time is the one resource you can't reclaim. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a relationship and find another. But an hour spent on nothing is gone forever. And Seneca knew this. He asked himself every night, what did I waste today, and what did I reclaim? That second part is important. What did I reclaim? Because even in a day full of waste, there were moments you took back. Moments you chose presence over distraction. Moments you chose stillness over noise. Name those too. Give yourself credit for the reclamation. And commit to reclaiming more tomorrow. This is the practice. Simple. Not easy. Simple. There's a difference. Most people confuse the two. They think if something is simple, it should be easy. The nightly review is 10 minutes and 3 questions. That's simple. But sitting alone with your own behavior, without distraction, without escape, without the comforting glow of a screen to tell you you're fine, that's not easy. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And that's exactly why almost no one does it. And that's exactly why it works. Because the thing most people won't do is the thing that separates the people who grow from the people who stagnate. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to do the ordinary thing that everyone avoids. Night after night. Without applause. Without audience. Without anyone ever knowing. And over time, that practice will do something to you that no motivational speech, no book, no seminar can do. It will make you someone you trust. Someone you respect. Someone whose word means something, because you've heard yourself speak it in the dark, to yourself, and you've watched yourself follow through. That's self-respect. Not a feeling. Not an affirmation. A track record. Built one night at a time. The Stoics didn't have our technology. They didn't have our noise. They didn't have a device in their pocket designed by thousands of engineers to steal their attention every waking second. And yet they still felt the pull of distraction, the erosion of focus, the temptation to let a day pass without examining it. If they needed this practice, what makes you think you don't? You live in the loudest era in human history. Your attention is under assault from the moment you wake until the moment you collapse. And the only defense is a practice that is older than all of it. A practice that has survived war, exile, plague, empire, and the collapse of civilizations. Because it works. Because it addresses the one thing that never changes. Human nature. Your nature. The tendency to drift. The tendency to avoid. The tendency to let life happen to you instead of happening to it. The nightly review is how you happen to your life. It's how you stop being a passenger and start being the navigator. Not through grand gestures. Not through dramatic transformations. Through 10 quiet minutes in the dark, asking yourself 3 questions, and listening to the answers. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Tonight. Tonight, before you pick up your phone, before you let the algorithm decide how you end your day, sit down. Pen and paper. Or just your mind if that's all you have. 3 questions. What did I do well? What did I fail at? What will I do differently tomorrow? 10 minutes. That's it. That's the whole practice. And if you do it tonight, and you do it tomorrow night, and you do it the night after that, something will begin to shift. Not overnight. Not in a dramatic flash. Slowly. Quietly. The way real change always happens. You'll start to notice patterns. You'll catch yourself mid-reaction instead of post-reaction. You'll begin to feel a steadiness inside you that wasn't there before. A sense that you are not at the mercy of your days but the author of them. And one night, maybe months from now, you'll sit down for your review and you'll realize something. The person you are tonight is not the person you were when you started. You're calmer. You're clearer. You're more honest. You're more yourself. And you didn't get there through a breakthrough. You got there through a ritual. 10 minutes. 3 questions. Every night. Without fail. That's how you rewire your life. Not with a dramatic overhaul. With a small, honest, repeated act of attention. Remember what I said at the beginning. The 10 minutes you spend reviewing your day honestly are the 10 minutes that determine whether you are living your life or just surviving it. That's not a metaphor. That's a mechanism. The review is where you stop surviving and start living. Because living means choosing. And choosing requires seeing. And seeing requires looking. And looking is what you do in those 10 minutes. Nobody will know you do this. Nobody will compliment you for it. There's no badge, no streak, no social reward. The reward is private. It's the slow, quiet accumulation of a self you recognize. A self you built. Night by night. Choice by choice. In the dark, alone, with nothing but your own honesty and your own willingness to grow. That's Stoic practice. Not a quote on a wall. A life under construction. Every single night. Stay disciplined.